ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Friday, April 9th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the White Claw phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. White Claw Hard Seltzer is made pure. Coming up today on the program, we're looking forward to this one. Marshall University football coach Charles Huff will be with us here in the next few minutes, so we'll probably take our break early to catch up with him. We're going to talk to him about the upcoming spring game, the bowl-a-thon that's coming up. All of that is happening, and that's coming up next week, so Coach is going to talk to us about that here in a few minutes. Also, we will update you on what's happening with Marshall Athletics across the board. Lots of things to talk about. Plus, we found out by social media, Jansen Williams transferring from Marshall, entering himself into the transfer portal, has landed at EKU. Jansen played for the Thundering Herd in 126 games, had 89 starts. Here's what you're getting out of him. 42% field goal shooter, 32% three-point shooter, averaged 7.5 points a game, over 4 rebounds a game, averaged almost 2 blocks a game, and he was part of the 2018 Conference USA Championship and the 2019 CIT Championship. He's Marshall's all-time block leader, so he will be concluding his career at EKU. And, of course, he's going to be joining Aaron Bennett there. How about that? So Bennett and Jansen, and that might have something to do with it. And, of course, A.W. Hamilton, the head coach of EKU, a good fit for him, he hopes. And so we'll be following his season next year as we get back to more of a normal season in college athletics. But as I mentioned, we've got Coach Huff coming up here in the next few minutes, and looking forward to talking to him. We're going to update you on what's happening across the board with Herd Athletics this weekend. All of that's coming up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up this segment, we are anticipating the arrival through the phone line, the arrival of one Marshall University football coach, Charles Huff. We await his phone call. Until then, we are here at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Paul Swann, your host for today's edition of The Drive. Our phone lines this hour presented by White Claw at 877-420-TALK. As we mentioned, White Claw, Hard Seltzer. It's made pure. I'm getting a little nervous. Nick Verzolini, show producer, intern, he's getting a grade for this. I'm getting a little nervous. Coach is not on the phone yet. I'm getting a little nervous. I mean, should I worry? Should I be concerned? I mean, this is only your grade, Nick, we're talking about. This is only your grade here. I'm not worried for me. I'm worried more for you because, obviously, this is a big get for you. You got if he calls, this is a big get for you. This is huge.
Yeah. Hoping he calls. Trying to work on it here.
Okay. I'm a little worried here. I don't know. Coach maybe didn't have his 5th Red Bull today. I don't know. But we're going to talk to Coach in a few minutes. I'm sure he is calling as we speak right now. I'm sure he's rushing to the phone to be a part of this program. Until then, we'll be here stalling, as we always do in these things, in these instances here. Big weekend. The Masters continues. Justin Rose leads at the moment, 7 under. Frozen for the finals on Saturday. UMass taking on St. Cloud State. What happened in Minnesota Duluth? I listened to a little bit of that action yesterday. We had that. We had an opening in the schedule, so I listened to a lot of that action. It was fun. And you get UMass versus St. Cloud State in the finals. That's coming up Saturday, 7 o'clock. Big action in the NBA. Lakers, Nets, going to be a huge one as well. So we've got a lot of action to talk about. But next week is what we're more concerned about because we've got the green-white game, the spring game, an opportunity for our Herd fans to see some of the new faces on the sidelines coaching up the Herd. And joining us now on the program to talk about that and a lot of the events that are going on in conjunction with the spring game is the head coach of the Marshall football team, Coach Charles Huff. And Coach, good talking to you again. I'm excited for the big weekend because I hear you're a pretty good bowler.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to maximize my opportunities to hit as many pins as I can. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you guys having me on. I'm excited, obviously, for the spring weekend that's coming up and all that we have planned here, and getting everybody back into some sort of normalcy and creating an atmosphere similar to what the people and the fans and the community of Huntington is used to having.
I'm kind of curious. Did you came up with the idea of the bowling event, right? Or was that something in conjunction with the staff? What was the genesis of that?
No, actually, Chad Pennington was kind of the idea starter there. We had some conversations with some of the former players about what would be a good way to kind of get them back in the fold and what were some things we could do over this weekend to try and get everybody or get a bunch of them back together in the same arena. And one of the ideas, obviously everybody does a golf tournament. You know, those are some things that are normally done. And we thought about it. You know, at a golf tournament, you really only get to talk to, you know, your foursome or, you know, the foursome that you're with. So Chad had done a bowling event for his foundation, and he said, hey, Coach, here's something you may want to think about. And with all the COVID rules and minimizing group sizes and social distancing, we thought, well, at least we can have, you know, a certain amount of guys in the bowling alley and do something like that rather than, you know, a traditional golf tournament where everybody really doesn't get to mix and mingle and you're spending really 5 or 6 hours at an event, you know, when there's going to be a lot of other things going on. So Chad kind of sparked the idea, and we talked it over with the staff, the administration, and we thought it'd be a good idea, a good way to kind of get everybody back together.
You got a pretty good list. You mentioned Chad Pennington's there. You're there. You've got coaches. You've got Dan D'Antoni, Tony Kemper as well, representing basketball. So you've got a pretty good mix of guys. And you know, I know it's going to be fun, but when it all comes down to brass tacks, it's going to be really competitive with the bowling. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, I think anytime you get a bunch of former athletes in a room in a competitive setting, you're asking for fireworks to fly. So I'm hoping that Coach D'Antoni doesn't take a bowling ball up against somebody's head if he comes up one pin short. Or it's going to be a competitive environment for sure. I think it's going to be a good opportunity for a little fun, a little friendly, you know, competition, bragging rights for a year. Something that we hope we can continue moving forward.
Now, if you go to herdzone.com right now, you can click on the link and you can see where the bids are. This is going to be a bid style to bid for your celebrity, and you know how these things go. The last few hours, the last few minutes, the bids are going to be flying in because it's like eBay, and everyone wants to try to get that last bid in at the last moment. So. Right now, I'm not concerned that Chad only has 3 bids and you have 1. I'm not concerned because I know that it's going to happen. There are going to be people flying in here the last minute trying to outdo somebody and get that last second bid in.
It's kind of like the Kentucky Derby. You're kind of waiting to make sure that the horse is healthy and he's going to run, and everybody's going to run to the gates at the last minute to try to make sure they get the best bid.
We want to remind fans the event's going to be held April 16th, 6 to 10 p.m. at Strike Zone Bowling Center, and opportunity for fans who bid and win to be with you and a lot of Herd celebrities. And the money's going to a good cause. Renovation for the Shuey Athletic Building. Is this just general renovation? Any grand plans you can share, or you can talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah. We have a very functional building. The Shuey building is very functional. When I say functional, meaning the space that we need to operate is there. We have enough room for meeting room. We have enough room for coaching offices. What we just don't have is we haven't had any upgrades done in 11, 12, 13 years. So we have a house that has very good bones that needs some renovation, and in today's world, in the recruiting game, you got to be competitive in order to be competitive on the field. So there are a lot of things that are in the building that are run down, older, that just are worn over time. And in order for us to be able to create the right amount of energy in recruiting, in order for us to be able to create the right amount of energy for our current players, we've got to do some upgrades, and obviously that takes resources, and we're asking a lot of people, to put money towards that, to put time towards that. We're not trying to knock down the building. We're not trying to add another wing. What we're trying to do is upgrade what we have. There are still some pictures, and there are still some signage in there from the last two eras, and just to make sure that the building represents and matches the vision for the overall program. And it's hard to do when you still come in the building and there's other coaches' faces and there's other coaches' sayings. And in order to do that, to get the kids to understand that we're taking the next step, they've got to see it and they've got to feel it. And that's what we're trying to raise money to do, to make sure that we're able to give our current players, our recruits, and our alumni the upgraded experience that they deserve.
Yeah, it's a great cause. Any home that you live in over time is going to wear down. You're going to always want to update your home and have it reflect you as this is where we live. This reflects us. So it's a great cause. And you've had a chance to spend some time now with everyone in the athletic department. You've been working with your team. You spoke to the media recently. Since we have spoken last, how's your team progressed, and is there anything maybe you're willing to share about how this team has come forth since the last time you spoke to the media?
Yeah, we're making some progress. I think the players are starting to understand how we operate as an organization, how we practice, how we meet, the intensity and focus that it takes to be able to sustain, a 60-minute game and a duration of practice. We still have some room to go. Consistency and execution is a big thing that we're preaching. And in order to be consistent in your execution, you got to be consistent in your approach. So everything you do has got to be geared toward making you a better football player. And that's what our guys are learning. And when you say our guys are learning, you're talking 105 guys all trying to learn. So you're going to have different levels and growth patterns that you're going to see, but we are making some progress. I think we're getting a lot of confidence built in the schemes and techniques that we're teaching. I think we got a lot of positive energy. Guys are trying. They're trying to do the things the right way. Coaches are enjoying coaching these guys. They feel like they are getting better as far as individually and collectively. So we feel pretty good. Obviously, we still have 4 more. We have practice tomorrow, and then we'll have 3 next week before the spring game, and we're going to try to maximize each one at a time.
Marshall football coach Charles Huff joining us on the program. The scrimmage, the green and white game, it's coming up next week. Now, this is going to be different for Herd fans, not used to seeing what a spring game looks like under Coach Huff. So what would you like to tell them? What can you say about what we're going to see once the game gets underway, or once your team takes the field? What's it going to look like?
Yeah, we're using this as an opportunity to practice our game day operation, and that's everything. So we're going to go to the hotel before the game and do our pregame meal. We're going to do our meetings. We're going to do our chapel. We're going to ride the bus over. We're going to do the herd walk. We're going to do our normal pregame routine. We're going to play a game as it is a game. 2 teams on 2 different sidelines. So we're going to do the full operation. We'll have a normal halftime. We'll go in. We'll make adjustments. Players will get coached up. Coaches will be in their normal coaching positions, whether that's on the field or in the booth. Because you got to remember, everything is new. So these guys don't know how we eat pregame meal. They don't know how we do pregame warm-up. And all that matters. I know a lot of fans stay in the parking lot until that horn blows, and you come in and you see the ball kicked off. But how you warm up to play a football game is important. How you eat your pregame meal is important. The focus and the intensity time that when that starts getting ready for a 60-minute game is important. So in order for us to teach our players those details and the importance of that, we got to go through it. And the spring game is a great opportunity. Obviously, we won't have schemed up the defense like we would if we were playing an opponent. But everything else will be very game-like. Players play, and coach is a coach, and hopefully at the end of it, not only have we taken an opportunity to get better on the field, but we have a better understanding of how we operate on game day.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to most about next week's spring game? I know this is also a practice, so this isn't separate from your day-to-day work with your team, but is there anything that you're looking forward to in addition to what you're already expecting out of these young men?
Yeah, I'm looking for our guys to be able to execute consistently in a game setting. It's one thing when you're at practice and, it's coaches there, and obviously through the pandemic we haven't been able to have, the amount of fans at practice that we would have at the spring game. So, being able to execute consistently in the arena, it's another deal. There are some players who in practice things go well, but when the lights come on, there's anxiety that comes on. There's tension. There's a different feel. So trying to see how our players will act, respond, execute in the arena. It's another opportunity for them to grow and learn. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the fans having a phenomenal time. I'll be able to enjoy that after the game. Once all the coaching and once all the monitoring of how we are moving and how we're operating goes on. I want the fans to have a good time. We've been in a pandemic for a very long time. A lot of people didn't get to make it out to any games last year. This will be their first time in a year. So I want them to enjoy it. But I'm ultimately looking for our guys to execute in the arena. That's a big piece of what we're trying to get accomplished.
Marshall football coach Charles Huff joins us on the program. A big week coming up next week. Of course, again, the fundraiser is coming up. And are you planning on doing more events like this or hoping to? Will this return depending on how successful it is and, depending on if Coach D'Antoni or Coach Kemper doesn't injure anyone with a bowling ball?
Yeah, I believe in the holistic experience. So I want to be able not only to do these events for the Shuey renovation project, but I want to be able to, as this thing continues to grow, I want to do these events for the basketball arena project, baseball stadium project, overall Big Green Athletic Fund project. I think when we're all pulling the rope in the same direction, I think we can accomplish a lot more. Obviously, I have a streamlined focus right now because I am in charge of the football program, so I'm trying to make sure that it is running on all cylinders. But as this thing continues to grow, I want to be able to help the entire Marshall athletic program, the entire Marshall community. So these type of events, if this thing goes well and we're able to expand on it, I would love to be able to do more of these. I think there are a lot of different areas that we can attack as far as alumni, boosters, supporters, fans. So I'm looking forward to this growing.
And I was going to ask you how important is that fan support, but I think you just answered it. It's it's vital. It's really key to the program. Yeah. Without them, you don't really have anything. And this also, it feels like it energizes them because these are some fun, unique opportunities, and this is only the beginning.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for the fans. It's an opportunity for the community to get a more behind the scenes look at each program. I think I'm very big on being intentional about being relational, and I think part of building the relationship with this community is opening up as much as possible. Obviously, we can't tweet out what plays we're going to run every game, but when we can get them in arenas where we can show them a little more than they see on game day, I think they build a bigger bond. I think they have a better understanding, and I think they feel more connected.
Marshall football coach Charles Huff, big event coming up. It's Friday, April 16th, 6 p.m. You and 3 guests can join Coach Huff or your celebrity bowler that you bid on. You have to go to herdzone.com, and it's going to be competitive. Yeah, I know you're going to be competitive once it's out there. Who you think is going to be your competition? Who's going to be the best bowler out there outside of yourself?
I'm going with a sneaky Coach D. He looks like a guy, and I know he's dealing with with his hip ailment right now. But he looks like a guy. He's kind of like the Golden Bear. He's going to knock it right down the middle of the fairway. He's going to just lay his ball out there. You're going to look up, and he's going to be 250, 275 right there at the end. And I think he's going to be a sneaky competitor in this deal.
Okay, so it's going to be Coach D as the he's going to be maybe the I don't want to say the underdog here. He's just going to be maybe
he's a dark horse.
He's a dark horse. Okay,
yeah.
That's fair. I'm keeping an eye on his bowling mate, Coach Kemper. I think that's the sneaky one. You watch out for that guy.
Okay, all right. I got to keep my eye on them both.
Yes, that team I would, because they're going to be communicating with each other. So you got to be.
Oh yeah, they're probably over at the bowling alley right now. I mean, because anytime you start to charge up the competitive juices amongst former athletes, they know they need a couple practice rounds. So he's probably over there right now getting his lanes, figuring out what lane is the slickest, what ball rolls the best. Somebody should go over there and check him out.
Have you had to go scout your venue? Have you warmed up yet, or are you just going in?
I've been trying to get 105 guys going in the right direction. I don't even know where that place is. So hopefully somebody picks me up right after practice, takes me there, shows me what lane I got. So then I'll know where I'm at.
Marshall football coach Charles Huff. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel I feel always better when I talk to you. You always put me in a better mood, and I appreciate that from you.
Well, I hope I can coach football as well as I can make you feel. And if that happens, I'll be okay.
I think you will. Coach, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, buddy. Go Herd.
That's Marshall football coach Charles Huff. And I'm motivated every time I talk to him. And he hasn't even motivated me yet in my job. He's been uplifting. I appreciate that out of him. Hey, I gotta rep my guy, Coach Kemper, though. I do have to rep Coach K. I mean, I did talk to him after the show the other day where we were mentioning, how his bids were going. I said, look, Coach, I think you're worth $2,000. And he said, if we can get $2,000, I wasn't going to mention this with Coach Huff because I didn't know what his reaction would be. He said, if we can get $2,000, he said, I think Coach Huff should give us like 10% of you should give us 10% for football. For basketball. What? Really? Let me pull this up real quick. I don't want to misrepresent Coach. He said if I can get it to 2,000, Coach Huff should have to give women's basketball like 10% or something. So, we can get Coach K, Coach Kemper, and Coach D, Coach Dan D'Antoni, Coach Double D. We can get Coach Double D and Coach TK. We can get 2,000. Because it's like 1,000 each for each of them. Basically, if we can do that, maybe some things can happen here. Of course, Coach Huff is not bound by any stretch of the imagination to this deal, but you can go to herdzone.com and bid on these guys right now. I think it's going to be a fun opportunity to hang out with some of the Marshall all-time greats, some of the coaching staff. Chad Pennington, you get to bowl with Chad Pennington. How cool would that be? If you're a Herd fan, if you're a longtime Herd fan, how cool would that be to go bowl with one of your all-time favorite quarterbacks in Marshall history? We're talking the face of the program for so long. We're talking a guy who made an impact in the NFL. Didn't win any Super Bowls, so I'm not talking that kind of impact, but just made an impact when he was with the Jets, and he was always highly well-regarded. He made an impact in the NFL. He's on the Mount Rushmore of Marshall athletics. And you get to bowl with that guy? Nick, do you got 1,000 handy? I need to bid on this here. I want to go bowl with Coach Huff and Chad Pennington. You want to go?
I'd love to.
You
don't
got
have the money for that.
You got any scholarship money left? We can
fun.
just can we steal from your scholarship fund? We'll pay you back.
Sure.
Okay. Maybe we can get someone, a listener, to bid on our behalf. And here's what you do. Bid on Coach Kemper so we can get in. Because, Chad's at 1,000 right now. So, you can vote. Yeah, you can vote on Kemper and we can get in because, that's going to jump to like 3,000 or 4,000 probably. I'm just trying to get Coach Kemper to 2,000. But we can do it that way. Support Coach K at the same time. We could get in and we can go bowl with Chad Pennington. And we can bring one more person. And actually, no, if you and me, we get two more people. It's like because it's one person and three guests. So it'd be you and me and two other people. So
Who would that be?
We need to attack this differently. We need to find 2 people with money that want to go in with us. That's what we need. We need somebody. Yeah, we need someone with funding. And since we work in broadcasting, we don't know people with funding. That's the curse of this job. We don't have people with funding we can hit up for this. We'll continue on with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday, April 9th edition. The Drive continues on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And joining us now on the program, not to talk about his bowling game, which I think I hyped up pretty well. Instead, a new member of the Thundering Herd has been announced, and joining us now on the program to talk about it is Marshall women's basketball coach Tony Kemper. That's what I love about you, Coach. I just text you, and you say yes, and you come on. I love that. I appreciate that, too.
I was ready.
I was talking you up to Coach Huff, by the way. I told him to watch out for you because I said, who do you think's going to be your competition out there? He said Dan D'Antoni, and I said, no. I said Coach Kemper. That's the guy.
I think I better practice if we're talking about bowling. So maybe they're going to put the bumpers out there for me, though.
He kind of implied that you and Coach D were already out there practicing. He kind of implied that you're getting ready now.
Coach Huff implied that?
Yeah, he said you and Coach D were all probably up there already practicing.
I might have to get on his bowling tab. I haven't been up there yet, but I might. As you can see, we've been recruiting a little bit. So
yes, sir.
I know he's doing the same thing. It's been exciting to watch all the action over there, but we've been working a little bit too in women's basketball.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's why we have you on, because we got the notice here. I mean, it's breaking news. You have signed or you have picked up a transfer from Austin Peay to be a part of your squad. Her name is I hope I'm saying this right, Brianna Furby.
Bree. We're gonna go with Bree. I shorten all those two just to make sure I don't. Bree Furby. Yep.
Okay, so Bree Furby is going to be joining the squad. She is a Tennessee native, 5'6", and she's played in a lot of games, so she's probably going to bring a lot of experience to the squad.
She does. She has, and I think I don't think I've been on since we signed Aaliyah Dunham last week. So we've added 2, basically starters in the last 2 weeks, and that was kind of a goal of ours to go recruit some more guard depth. To certainly help replace Kristen Mayo, Taylor Pearson as they were going out, and I'm really excited about both of them. But you're right. Bree's played in a lot of games. She can score the ball, and that is something that we knew we needed to get. I think she had 26 on somebody at some point this year, and we'll take that as many times as she wants to give it. I think that was the thing for us last year too, is just finding other consistent scoring options to go along with Savannah Weaver. So certainly excited about the offseason we've had, and girls are in there working right now. Our team is conditioning and working out and things like that. So hopefully we can build on the momentum, with some of those wins we had late in the year.
How challenging is it? You go out and recruit, obviously, and you have players that you target and you get to know. And then you have the transfer portal, which coaches are still learning, the nuances, how to really manage that, because you will have players over time, I'm sure, that will take advantage of it. But at the same time, you can bring new people into the program. So, what is that like for you? I mean, did you have much knowledge about Bree before she entered the portal, or someone you looked at before?
We didn't know anything about her, nothing. And that's the rules are that you can't have any contact with players prior to them being in the portal. So we're good rule followers in women's basketball here at Marshall. So we just watch that it's a web page. We just kind of watch it like a hawk, and the minute that a name goes in there, we begin watching film on her. And so that's kind of our process was Janko Popovic, Lazar Milinkovic. They've been in the office watching a ton of film on players that get in there and who we feel like really fits the need for what we're trying to add, which was perimeter scoring. And so Bree we kind of do it quickly. We watch. They probably watch 5 minutes of film. They bring it into me, and I agree, and then you start the process of getting into contact. So that's kind of we did the process with many players, and we're certainly happy that it worked out for both Bree and us that she's going to wear the green and white.
How much more workload does that add to you and your staff? Because you've got to contend with new players that are recruitable in high school, and you have to contend with the transfer portal, because if there's someone there that can help you, you definitely want to reach out to that player. So I'm sure this has increased your workload maybe, I don't know, twice as much, tenfold? What are we looking at here?
Well, I think it's just different. And, this year has been different on so many levels. So, we really knew there's a lot of new that's hitting programs and coaches right now. It's uncharted to have one time, immediate transfer eligibility and the stuff that we're going through, the portal and different things like that. And so we knew, kind of in the middle of the year that Taylor Pearson, she's a great senior for us. She's going to go on to medical school. She got into med school at Marshall. So, there's no real reason to come back and play again if you got that medical school nod. And then, Kristen's getting married next year, Mayo, from over at Grayson. And she had a tremendous career too, but she was ready to move on. And I think at that point, we pretty much knew that we were going to be in that portal and trying to find players that had already made an impact somewhere and were ready to maybe have a change of scenery and provide us with some punch. And the Aaliyah Dunham signing, that happened rather quickly. She's from South Charleston, 4-year starter at Xavier, 6th in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio. Maybe one of the top 5, I think, in the Big East in steals. So she was a huge get early on, and then it took us a little bit longer to get Bree, but we convinced her. Last night she called me. She's on the way to New York this weekend to hang out a little bit and said I'm in. So that kind of got us done recruiting-wise. And so we're kind of on to the next thing, which is really summer recruiting and kind of swings back to high school, AAU and high school stuff, which we're ready to go. I mean, we're itching to get out there safely and start watching some tournaments and players.
Marshall women's basketball coach Tony Kemper joining us on the program. And, of course, you mentioned Dunham coming from South Charleston, big-time experience in the Big East. What are those intangibles? That's stuff you just maybe you can't put your finger on to point out and say that she possibly brings, because coming from the Big East to Conference USA, I mean, that says a lot about Marshall and the conference, and that she's confident that this is a good place for her to continue her career. And it didn't hurt that she's a local young lady as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we recruited Aaliyah really hard out of high school and really wanted to get her. And, ultimately she went to Xavier, and she had a full career over 4 years. But, I think she was ready for something new. And she's getting her MBA. That's something that both these two players are grad transfers, so they'll both be in grad school here at Marshall, and both really good students. Both of them have been on their respective all-league academic type teams, and that's exciting for me. That's always been an important part of who I want to be as a program. But Leah brings tons of experience, and she brings experience against teams like UConn and people like that, which we don't have that. And so she is suited up against those teams. And I told you about her assist to turnover ratio this past year. That has been a thing for her every year of college, is assist to turnover numbers that we haven't seen here at Marshall. And so I know that she's going to bring more ball handling and playmaking ability. And I think she's definitely going to score it a little bit more for us because she's going to need to. So she's excited to be here. I know she's excited to get home, and that was kind of a big thing for her was, she wants to come home. And for years, I've seen her dad at football games, and their family are big Marshall people. So I know she's going to be excited to put on the jersey.
Tony Kemper, my guest, Marshall women's basketball coach. I appreciate you just stopping what you were doing to do this real quick. And I know you got to get ready to go do some bowling practice now so you can be competitive here next week. So,
well, I'm actually Little League practice tonight. We go we're going Little League practice. Then I go pick up my daughter from soccer, and then we're gonna go watch Marshall women's soccer second half as soon as my daughter gets done playing. So we've got a full night tonight. I was going to tell you this one more thing on Bree that
Sure.
I like. Her brother played football at Western Kentucky, so there's a little family feud going on in her house, which she's well aware of that. Because I've told her that over the last couple of weeks of recruiting. So we beat out. We got us one in the family to wear the right color in that Marshall Western rivalry.
Yeah, 100%, totally. I mean, I red used to be a favorite color of mine. It used to be.
Right, it's gone now.
It's gone now. I mean, I have some red things left, but once they wear out, I'm not renewing the color.
Exactly. I grew in high school. That was my school colors was red. So I bleed green now though.
Tony Kemper, my guest.
Happily.
You are a busy man, sir. I appreciate you taking the time, especially knowing all of that. Enjoy the rest of your night and your weekend, and we'll be rooting for you to come out victorious in this bowl-a-thon next week.
Well, I'm excited to go. It'll be that'll be something I haven't done before, and obviously hanging out with a lot of true celebrities. I'm not one of those. I'm gonna carry Coach D'Antoni's ball in for him, and then we'll have some fun with those football guys.
Stop it. He should. I understand his hip. I get it. Okay. Other than that, yeah. No, you carry yours. He should carry his once his hip feels better.
I got you.
Coach, I thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I
Appreciate
appreciate you talking Marshall women's basketball.
Anytime. You know it. Coach D'Antoni is going to need your help, sir, so you get some rest. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Tony Kemper, head coach of the Marshall women's basketball team. He's going to be carrying Coach D, I think, out there. Quick timeout. We will finish this up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Wrapping up today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. A lot of action taking place across the Marshall landscape. Men's soccer Saturday, 2 o'clock, taking on UAB. You have got women's soccer in action, 6 o'clock. So that's coming up here after the show. You're on your way to that. If you have made your way to soccer, you're going to probably see an interesting matchup, as this is going to be it. This is going to be the 2021 spring season finale. Tennis falls to JMU today. Sunday is going to be senior day, and it's going to be University of Cincinnati and University of Charleston. So lots of action going on this weekend, and that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks to our producer. Of course, he's getting a passing grade, Nick Verzolini. That was close there, Coach Huff. That was close. We got him on. So, Coach Huff, we want to appreciate him and thank him for being a part of the show. And also, Marshall women's basketball coach Tony Kemper for just dropping everything he was doing and being on the program. That's going to do it. We will be back on Monday, and we'll do it all over again right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Alex.